I never imagined my foster sibling would become my soulmate after years apart. I will never forget the day everything fell apart. The air was thick with tension, and chaos buzzed all around me. I was standing at the edge of the garden, watching my childhood home burn. Flames twisted and danced like demons, devouring everything I held dear. My heart raced, each beat echoing like a drum in my chest. Travis, I could barely breathe his name. He was always my protector, the one who shielded me from the darkness lurking in our past. How could he be lost in that fire? We had been separated when we were kids, tossed into different foster homes like pieces of discarded furniture. But still, somehow, we found our way back to each other. Our bond was once unbreakable. As I fought through the crowd of onlookers, with sirens wailing like banshees in the distance, memories flooded my mind. The whispered secrets we shared at midnight, our laughter echoing off the walls as we built forts from old sheets, the spark in his eyes when he'd sneak me an extra slice of cake. I thought we were safe. I thought that no matter what happened, we would always have each other, but now. My trembling hands reached out in desperation. The smoke clawed at my throat, suffocating me. I could see Ms. Thompson, our old social worker, her expression twisted with sorrow. "They're still in there," she shouted, her voice a choked sob that echoed through the night. The thought of Travis trapped behind those flames sent icy fingers of fear racing down my spine. What if he didn't make it? What if I was too late? A twisting knot of panic spiraled inside me, choking off any rational thought. I stepped closer to the flames, heat licking at my skin, and for a second, I was deafened by the roar of the fire. The embers rose like a constellation of lost souls, each one a memory I couldn't bear to lose. A sudden thought pierced through the chaos. Did I even know where he was? Had he known about me all these years? A flutter of hope squeezed my chest, almost too tight to bear. What if he was out there, searching for me too? The night air felt electrified, crackling with possibility. Just when I thought I couldn't feel any more pain, a figure appeared out of the smoke. My heart lurched. Was it Travis? The world slowed, time stretching thin as a fragile thread. I felt my breath hitch, face lighting up with hope, but the shadows clung to the figure, obscuring it from view. And as the haze cleared, a blinding light emerged, drowning everything in a golden glow. I stood frozen, my heart hammering wildly against my ribs. It was then, in that moment of breathtaking suspense, I realized something chilling. The figure wasn't just anyone, it was my past. My family's secrets whispered through the air. The truth I had been running from all along was drawing near, and I had to confront it. Why had Travis come back now? What was hidden behind the smoke and fire? My heart raced as I caught my breath, standing on the brink of what could change everything. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. Flames continued to ravage the skeleton of my childhood home, but all I could focus on was that figure emerging from the shadows. As the glow receded, my heart sank. It wasn't Travis. Instead, it was a woman, her hair blackened with soot, her face streaked with ash and tears, and yet she was somehow familiar. I squinted, trying to pierce through my confusion. "Jaina!" she cried, stumbling toward me with wretched determination. It was Aunt May, my mother's sister, the last person I ever expected to find at the remnants of my life. She had been estranged from the family for years after our parents' deaths, dropping off the radar like a name fading from a distant memory. Aunt May? I could scarcely believe it. My voice felt foreign in my mouth, tangled with disbelief and confusion. "Thank God you're alive." she shouted, reaching me and wrapping her arms around me tightly as though I were a fragile doll that could shatter at any moment. I thought I lost you too, a wave of emotion washed over me. Part of me wanted to push her away, resentments from childhood blurred into focus, the years of absence and silence gnawing at the fragile bonds of blood. Yet here she was, throwing herself into the flames to find me. I craved that warmth, the familiar touch, as wounds both new and old surged to the surface. The fire. Travis, is he here? Is he okay? I stuttered, the words tumbling from my lips. The chaos around me blurred, time slipping through my fingers like water. Her eyes darkened, filled with a tumult of unshed tears. Travis, I haven't seen him. I thought he might be here. I thought you were gone. We need to find him, she sobbed, grabbing my shoulders with desperation. She was wrong, it couldn't be true. That tiny flicker of hope I dared to entertain was snuffed out, plunging me back into the depths of despair. The sky overhead mirrored my turmoil, heavy clouds swirling as if they too were mourning a loss. Just then, a sound caught my attention amidst the chaos. A voice called out from the depths of the crowd. Jaina. May. It was Ms. Thompson, waving her arms, urgency cutting through her panic. They're doing a head count, trying to see who is missing. In an instant, I was off, dragging Aunt May with me. The two of us weaved through the throngs of worried faces, firefighters flitting about like bees, tending to the wreckage of the life I once knew. We arrived at a makeshift gathering point, where a few survivors were being accounted for. Where's Travis? I demanded, my voice raw and edged with desperation. He has to be here. Travis isn't on the list, Ms. Thompson replied, her face a mask of worry. But he might have run to a neighbor's house. We just need to wait for confirmation. Wait. The word twisted my gut. My heart pounded a relentless rhythm as anger bubbled beneath my surface. The uncertainty was unbearable. I needed to see Travis, I needed proof of life or his absence to quell the burgeoning storm inside me. Aunt May's fingers laced through my own, a small gesture of kindness in a sea of despair. Well, get through this, Jaina. You're not alone, she whispered, her voice a soothing balm that felt strange yet reassuring in its authenticity. Minutes stretched into an eternity, and in that space, I found shards of hope flickering. The firefighters were working tirelessly, and I watched as they rescued a neighbor's pet, a small dog, who bounded away with a wagging tail, unfazed by the chaos. A glimpse of kindness amid the ruin brought a small smile to my lips, reminding me that even in darkness, there were sparks of light. It was then my phone vibrated in my pocket, a jolt of thrill rushing through me. Could it be Travis? Heart in my throat, I pulled it out to see a name that made it plummet. Caleb, my childhood friend who had stuck by my side through thick and thin. I hesitated, my fingers trembling over the screen, before answering. Jaina. Caleb's voice broke through the static. I've been trying to reach you. I just heard about the fire. His tone shifted, full of urgency. I need you to listen. I saw Travis. The air suddenly thickened with anticipation. What? Where? I could barely breathe, urgency spilling into my voice. He's at the old diner on Maple Street. I'll meet you there. Without thinking, I turned sharply to face Aunt May. We have to go. They found him. Hope surged again, this time more potent, rekindling the spark I feared extinguished forever. But as I turned to leave, a thought seized me. If the fire was not an accident? What if there were deeper secrets entwined in the flames, waiting, like shadows, to be unearthed? Everything I thought I knew was unraveling, and I had to face whatever lay ahead. I took a breath, steeling myself. I knew I couldn't turn back now. Travis was there, and soon, the truth would be too. Would it resolve our past, or drag us deeper into the unfolding nightmare? Before I could respond, a distant scream broke through the night. The scream echoed against the collapsing backdrop of my life, a chilling reminder of the panic clawing at the edges of this moment. I turned instinctively toward Aunt May, whose face had gone pale, shaken by the sudden cry that seemed to tear through the grief-stricken air. What was that? she murmured, her grip on my hand tightening like a vice. I didn't know. My heart hammered in my chest as I scanned the faces of the crowd, each gaze reflecting a spectrum of horror, confusion, and rising dread. The fire still smoldered in the background, but now it felt like a mere flicker compared to the urgency of that scream. "We can't risk any more delays," I said, my voice firm, though I felt the tendrils of uncertainty creeping back in. "We have to go find Travis." "Wait," Aunt May implored, her eyes flitting to Ms. Thompson. "Let's ask for help before we rush out there. We don't even know what happened," but the words barely registered. All I could think about was Caleb's voice replaying in my mind his urgency, the frantic way he had shared the news. Travis was alive, and the mere notion of it imbued me with a frantic vigor. Yet that scream lingered, and a knot of foreboding tightened in my stomach. "Well, take just a moment," I conceded reluctantly, half aware of the unfolding chaos around the gathering point. My senses were heightened, as the scent of charred wood mixed with smoke and something else fear. Ms. Thompson called a couple of nearby firefighters, guiding them toward us with the seriousness of a general rallying troops. "This is Jaina, she's missing her brother, Travis. Can we get someone to check the diner?" Before any solid plans could be laid out, the atmosphere shifted dramatically as a young man rushed into the fray. It was Ethan, another resident from the neighborhood, his face flushed and eyes wide with panic. "Have you seen Bria?" he exclaimed, his voice trembling. We were supposed to meet at her house." "Bria?" I echoed, realization dawning. She was Ethan's younger sister and not far from my age, not someone I expected to hear about on a night like this. "She was at the festival too, right?" Ethan nodded, looking increasingly distraught. "I don't know where she is." "I thought she was with you." The guilt slammed into me unexpectedly, her absence felt like an indictment. I tried to reach out to Ethan, but the weight of my own search for Travis made it hard to breathe. "She might've gotten scared and gone home. We can check her house after we find Travis," I offered more as a wish than a plan. But Aunt May spoke up, her voice steadier than I felt. "We can't split up if we aren't sure everyone's safe. Let's find help for both of them." Ethan's shoulders tensed, a spark of determination igniting in those frantic eyes. "I'll look for Bria. You two go find Travis." "No, that's too dangerous," I started to protest, but Aunt May squeezed my hand again, easing me back. "Sometimes we have to trust each other, Jaina. Keeping together isn't always the safest option." I wrestled internally while Ethan's resolve radiated over us. "I'll be careful," he promised, voice wavering but unwavering. "It's better than staying here." The urgency settled heavily over us, a stark reminder that we weren't alone in this catastrophe, but I still felt tethered to Travis, my broth-era haunting pull I couldn't ignore. "All right," I relented, almost reluctantly. "Let's hurry. The diner is just a few blocks away." We moved swiftly, weaving through tendrils of smoke still rising from the last vestiges of the fire, the ground littered with remnants of our lives, the childhood toys mingling with charred dreams. People rushed past us, eyes wide with confusion and panic, and I felt the weight of their grief echoing my OWN. As we approached the diner, the neon sign that used to flicker cheerily now lay dark, an omen of the night's unfolding tragedies. Inside, the scene was stark and surreal, tables overturned, chairs scattered, remnants of a community gathering, all echoing the sheer chaos of the night. "Caleb?" I shouted, my voice barely breaking through the silence that settled over the wreckage. No response. My pulse quickened. I pressed further inside, searching the scattered tables, desperate for any sign of Travis. My heart sank as dread seeped in. What if he didn't make it? What if the calls I heard earlier were lies spun in desperation? Then, from a shadowy corner, I glimpsed a familiar shape, a figure trembling alone. My breath caught in my throat as I rushed forward. Travis. As I drew closer, recognition washed over me, but it wasn't Travis. It was a young girl huddled beneath the diner counter, her eyes wide and glistening with fear. Bria. Bria. I knelt down before her, the shock of connection feeble yet full of meaning. "Where is Travis?" She stared back at me, her lips trembling, but before she could respond, a sudden crash rang from the far side of the diner, a shattering cacophony of glass and wood. My heart dropped as something impenetrable seemed to shift in that moment, a sense of danger that wasn't just rising from the fire. "Get back!" Aunt May shouted, pulling me aside just as the shadows shifted once more. A figure loomed in the entryway, silhouetted by pairs of flashing lights from the emergency vehicles outside. It wasn't Caleb or anyone else I recognized. My breath hitched as I took in the ragged clothing, the torn flesh, and hard eyes that bore a nearly palpable rage. And then I heard Ida's name surging forth from the depths of my mind, a name I couldn't have ever prepared myself to hear in a night like this. "Jaina," he croaked, voice dripping with malice, "it's time to pay for your mistakes." I felt my heart drop as I recognized the voice cutting through the chaos in the diner. It was Connor, my foster brother. He had been a dark shadow in our childhood home, ghosting in and out of a turbulent life that had seen him drift into dangerous circles. The years had reshaped him, transformed his once innocent features into a mask of bitterness and anger. He had always been volatile, but now, he was barely recognizable, a specter of the boy I once knew. "What are you doing here?" I breathed, inching backward instinctively. "I came to find you," he said, stepping forward into the flickering light of the diner. The conflict within me was profound, a battle not just against fear but against troubled memories. I remembered the bond we shared as children, the times we'd struck out on adventures, but they were overshadowed now, tainted by a shared history that spoke of broken trust and betrayal. Bria whimpered behind me, sensing the shifting tides of tension. "Jaina, I don't think," she began, but I raised a hand to silence her, my gaze locked on Connor, who was now a chaotic mix of desperation and rage. "Connor, this isn't the time," I implored, trying to keep my voice steady. "We need to get out of here. This place isn't safe." The air, heavy with smoke, felt increasingly suffocating. "You don't get to dictate safety when I'm the one who needs it," he spat, his voice laced with something jagged, something that hinted at deep-rooted grievances he carried like battle scars. "You think you and your little family are the only ones who matter? You left me behind, Jaina. You forgot me." Each word hit like a dagger. I had spent the years since our separation convincing myself that he was better off without Medhat. He was a problem I could not solve. But here he was, stripped of any pretense, and there was a haunting plea in his gaze, a flicker of the boy I used to know before life had taken him down darker paths. "Connor, it's not like that. I never stopped caring about you," I exclaimed, breaking the silence that had fallen around us. "But this because of the fire, the crowd, it's all gone wrong. We have to stick together. Where is Travis? What do you want?" He hesitated, eyes narrowing for a brief moment as if my words had penetrated a veneer of resentment. "I don't know where he is. I came to find you because," he glanced around, as if the walls had ears, and lowered his voice. "Because I heard about the fire. I knew you'd be here. This place, it's a mess, and there's more going on than just flames." A chill rolled through me. "What do you mean?" I could feel Aunt May's presence behind me, protective yet confused, her hand clutching my arm as if to keep me grounded. Connor took a step forward, and I could feel the vulnerability there, albeit hidden beneath layers of his tough exteriors. "I was working with some people who have plans for this town, plans that include you, your family. The fire wasn't an accident." His revelation stunned me into silence, layers of uncertainty flooding my mind. "What are you saying? Who are you working with?" His eyes flickered with something that looked suspiciously like fear, but he quickly masked it with bravado. "You wouldn't understand. You're just like everyone else, content in your little bubble while the rest of us deal with shit nobody cares about. They want to take back what's ours, and that includes everything you hold dear." The urgency of our situation loomed over us, but my thoughts swirled around his words, desperate to comprehend without becoming overwhelmed. Could I trust him? This was the same Connor who had distanced himself from us all, who had made decisions leading to countless confrontations. What was he really trying to say? Aunt May moved slightly as if trying to comprehend the shifting alliances in the room, her voice steady but strained. You need to leave, Connor. We can't help you if you're involved with dangerous people. You're only bringing more chaos. But he smiled grimly, glancing over his shoulder nervously, as though sensing an impending threat. You don't understand, it's too late for that. They already know you're here. There. Watching that, a chill coated the diner, weaving through the terror of the night, as distant shouts fanned out into the stillness, nearing our location. I glanced nervously toward the entrance, contemplating our next move amid the swelling uncertainty that surrounded us. What do we do? Bria gazed up at me, her face pale and drawn, excitement from earlier dissipating into pure trepidation that I don't know, I found myself admitting, torn between wanting to protect my family and the uncertainty swirling around Connor's words. We can't stay here. But before I could register it, the flickering lights from outside burst into the diner, illuminating our faces with a harsh, fluorescent glow. A group of shadowy figures loomed in the doorway, their expressions hidden but the menace palpable in the air. Connor turned sharply, instinctively reaching for me, but before he could say another word, someone called out from the entrance. There you are. We've been looking for you. Caleb stepped forward, but the moment his gaze fixed on Connor, an unexpected recognition sparked in his eyes. What the hell is he doing here? The atmosphere cracked with tension as the figures behind my brother shifted, leaving me teetering on the edge of decisions not yet made in paths untraveled that I had just opened the door to the unknown, and peering inside, I couldn't help but wonder what secrets lay in waiting, how far the threads of fate had woven my family into a dangerous tapestry. The world around us shifted yet again, and all I could think of was how swiftly hope can turn to despair. The chaotic ambience of the diner felt amplified as Caleb's voice sliced through the tension that had ensnared us. I turned my gaze from Connor to my brother, feeling an overwhelming sense of vulnerability. Caleb had always been my protector, the one who would clash against anyone threatening my peace. But standing there, faced with the ghost of our past, I felt the roles unraveling. What the hell are you doing here, Connor? Caleb reiterated, his voice taut with anger, yet there's a flicker of concern hidden beneath the surface. Don't tell me you've dragged yourself back into her life only to stir up trouble. Connor's jaw clenched, and a flicker of that old defiance sparked in his eyes. I'm not here to cause chaos, man. I'm here for Jaina. She's in danger. From you? Caleb stepped closer, the crackle of aggression palpable between the brothers. Aunt May's concerned gaze flicked between the two, her grip on my arm tightening. Enough. I interjected, my voice rising above the storm gathering around us. Right now, we need to figure out what's happening. All of us, the shadowy figures outside shifted again, and I could feel the energy in the room swaying. My heart raced, teetering on a precipice between loyalty to my family and a growing unease toward Connor's involvement with those dangerous people he mentioned. Jaina, Connor's voice softened as he looked at me, each turbulent emotion etched deep into his features. Listen to me carefully. I mean it when I say they're watching you. They're coming for your family, and if you stay with them, they won't rest until they get what they want. That I felt the air thin as his words sank in. What could be worth risking our lives for? Yet, beneath that fraying thread of anxiety lay an undercurrent of hope, the idea that maybe just maybe Connor was trying to protect me despite the history that loomed like a shadow over our past. Caleb continued to glower at Connor. We can't trust him, Jaina. He's been in too deep with the wrong people. Maybe the wrong people are the ones trying to burn down everything we know. I shot back, words bubbling forth before I could catch myself. A sense of defiance surged within me, rooted in desperation, as I searched Connor's eyes for some semblance of truth. If you know something, Connor, tell me what you know. For a moment, silence wrapped around us, thick and suffocating, and I could feel Aunt May's eyes upon me, filled with a mix of worry and something unnameable, as if she could sense the emotional tide refocusing. Point two. Can't say much, Connor stammered, glancing back toward the door where Caleb's friends loomed with tense postures, oblivious to the truth surrounding us. But what I can say is that this isn't just personal. Whatever they're planning, it's bigger than all of us. They think the fire was just a test. My stomach churned at the thought, my mind racing through possibilities. How could it all be connected? What do we do? I breathed, a flicker of fear igniting my resolve. Trust me like you used to, Connor urged, the vulnerability in his tone cutting through my hesitation. We need to get out of here. Now. A rash of footsteps could be heard approaching, echoing with urgency against the walls of the diner. The threat felt real, palpable, as I exchanged a quick glance with Caleb, uncertainty mingling with the realization that we were out of time. Jaina. Caleb's urgency spurred me back to the moment. Come on. Just as I moved to follow, Connor grabbed my wrist tightly, his grip surprisingly firm yet protective. Don't let them split us up. I swear, they're coming for you, for all of us. My heart raced as I felt the electric pull between years of conflict complicated by a yearning for the boy he once was beneath the gruff exterior. The familiar flicker of trust sparked within me, battling against the caution that had defined our reunion. We can't leave him. I blurted, my voice harsh and fractured from the pang of loss for the brother I never wanted to abandon. Caleb looked at me, incredulity etched across his features. Are we really doing this? You trust him? Enough of this. One of the figures on the threshold shouted, and tension broke like a wave, an oncoming storm threatening to engulf us whole. Now. I yelled, finally grasping the gravity of my choice as Connor pulled me toward the back exit. Heart pounding, I followed him, instinctively trusting this chaos would bring us face to face with truths I had yet to fathom. As we burst through the door, I felt a chill race through me as the night air hit my face, freedom quickly overshadowed by the looming uncertainty ahead. Suddenly, a shadow darted toward us from the alleyway, colliding into Connor with a force that startled me. What did you tell them? A low voice hissed, eyes wide and frantic under the glow of the streetlights. I didn't recognize the figure, but the desperation in their eyes ignited fear within me. Before I could process, my vision blurred as Caleb's frantic voice echoed behind us, "Get back. Jaina. We can't stay here." And just like that, whatever fragile bond had started rebuilding between Connor and me fractured once more, lost amidst the strangers lurking in the shadows, caught between a treacherous past and the uncertainty of what lay ahead. I forced myself to believe we were about to uncover new layers of truth, but deep down, dread gnawed at my core. What if the truth put everything I held dear at risk? As the figures circled us, I turned back to Connor, ready to plead for an explanation, but before I could utter a word, he was gone, lost in the chaos, leaving me on the precipice of a revelation about to unfold in the most dangerous way imaginable. The night was oppressive, a shroud of darkness swallowing us whole as I stumbled through the alley, panic clawing at my throat. The alleyway reeked of damp concrete and despair, with flickering lights casting ominous shadows. My heart thundered in my chest, every beat a desperate reminder of how quickly everything had spiraled out of control. Connor. I shouted, but the echo swallowed my voice, leaving me shivering in the void he had vanished into. The figures closing in from the other end were menacing silhouettes, each step they took heavy with intention. I glanced back toward the diner, Caleb's frantic figure just visible in the hazy glow of the neon sign. My mind raced, caught between wanting to run to him and the clenching dread of what Connor had just dragged me into. Jaina. Caleb's voice cut through my alarm, threading urgency through the night. It spurred me forward, but a sharp tug on my sleeve pulled me back just as I was about to take flight. Wait. A voice spoke from the shadows, the urgency thick enough to cut through the tension. It belonged to the frantic figure who had attacked Connor. A girl, maybe a year older than me, her hair wild and eyes fierce. You can't go back there. It's a trap. What do you know? I demanded, pulling my arm free, desperation edging my voice. The glimmer of ambivalence in her eyes drew me in, igniting my curiosity. She stepped closer, breath hitching as she surveyed the alley's murky corners. Connor came back for you, but he's tangled in something much bigger than you can imagine. They know he's here, she hissed, speaking in frantic bursts. I don't know how much time we have. Before I could process the information, my heart raced with another pang of dread. What if Connor was right? What if the danger was real and I had let myself trust him too easily? Who are you? I managed, fighting the whirlwind of emotions. Rhea, she replied simply, and the earnestness in her gaze stirred a flicker of hope in my chest. I'm working with Connor, trying to keep him and you both safe. My skepticism resurfaced, but there was an intensity in her tone that resonated. From what? They're coming for the both of you because of what Connor saw. The fire was just the beginning. He can't let them finish what they started. You being here means they're one step closer to uncovering everything, she said, scanning the alley nervously. I swallowed the lump in my throat, wrestling with the growing confusion. Was Connor actually trying to protect me, despite everything that had happened? Or was it all a ploy, an act disguised as concern? Suddenly, a shadow swept past us. Fear electrified the air as I turned. Caleb was charging towards me, his face a mask of anger and worry. Jaina! Get away from her! I reached for Caleb, but Rhea interjected, a fierce resolve igniting in her stance. No! She needs to know, or you'll lose her. Caleb stopped in his tracks, eyes darting between us as he tried to assess the sudden shift in the situation. Know what? You think I would let you talk to a stranger when Connor's out there alone? This is insane, Caleb. Listen, I pressed, fighting the urge to shake some sense into him. Connor needs our help, and Rhea knows what's happening. If there's any chance he's in danger. A guttural sound echoed from the mouth of the alley, cutting off my words. The shadows grew darker, the figures at the mouth emerging as shapes I struggled to comprehend. The group was larger than I expected, their movements fluid and purposeful as they pushed further into our territory. Run! Rhea shouted, and as if my body reacted instinctively, I grabbed Caleb's hand, pulling him back as Rhea hurried beside us. They'll take you if you don't move this way. We dashed along the narrow alley, adrenaline coursing through my veins as we navigated the shadows. Fear mingled with a strange thrill, this pulsating sense of being alive, yet acutely aware of the threads unraveling around us. My thoughts whirled. If Connor was truly risking everything for us, what had he seen that drove him back into this chaos? As we veered toward another exit, I stole a glance back into the darkness. My heart ached at the thought of Connor in peril, so close yet unreachable. He's still out there, I cried, the words spilling from my lips with desperation. Caleb's grip tightened on my hand, pulling me firmly against him. We won't leave him behind. I promise, he said, voice low but resolute. But each second was a dying echo. The weight of uncertainty settled heavily in my chest. Just then, a piercing scream shattered the night, a raw, terrifying sound I would never forget. It came from the direction of the diner. Connor! I gasped, dread slamming into me with a nauseating force. Rhea hesitated, caught between a desire to run and the urgency of our mission. That we can't go back. We have to keep moving, she insisted, desperation palpable. But Caleb was already starting toward the sound, his face set with determination. Jaina, we have to find him. This is a trap. Rhea's voice cracked, but the anguish in my heart mirrored Caleb's resolve. I had to know if Connor was okay, if he was still fighting for us, or if the darker shadows were closing in. The ground shifted beneath me as I stepped forward, trembling yet resolute. Time slowed, every second pulsing with fear and urgency. With every heartbeat, the gnawing dread that I might lose him seeped through me like venom. In that moment, I turned to Rhea. If you know anything, if you have any idea where he might be, please. Rhea's eyes softened, a flicker of empathy breaking through her previous fierce urgency. I know where they might have taken him. But it's dangerous, and the air thickened with tension as Caleb and I exchanged glances, a silent agreement passing between us. We wouldn't leave him behind. Whatever darkness threatened to swallow us whole, the flicker of determination ignited within me. I would go to the depths of hell to bring Connor back. As we took off toward the diner, the cool night wind chasing us forward, I felt the weight of our choices wrapping around us. In the midst of the chaos, I grasped at the only light we had: trust, hope, and the fragile thread still woven into the fabric of our story. But as we approached the diner's entrance, a figure stepped into the doorway, a haunting silhouette, one that was disappointingly familiar. Connor? I felt my breath hitch, hope clashing violently with dread. But then, the truth dawned, chilling me to the bone. "This isn't going to end well, Jaina," he said, a darkness lingering in his gaze, and for the first time, doubt crept in, just as the shadows surrounded us once more. The diner nestled in the fading light towered like a ghost from my childhood, but the sense of nostalgia was quickly stripped away as the weight of Connor's words settled heavy in my heart. His presence alone felt like a lingering storm, dark and foreboding, yet strangely magnetic, drawing me deeper into chaos I couldn't turn away from. "What do you mean?" I asked, struggling to remain steady as Caleb's grip tightened around my hand. "What's going on?" Connor lowered his gaze, shadows flickering over his face, making it hard to read his emotions. "I've seen things I shouldn't have," he admitted, his voice low and earnest. "And now they're out for blood. They're not just after me, they want anyone connected to me, including you." Panic surged in my chest, bursting against the walls I had desperately built around my heart. I was drawn in by his warmth, yet terrified of where he'd lead me. Fear rolled through me anew. I had already risked too much. "So you came back to put us in danger?" I shot back, each word dripping with hurt. "After everything we've been through, how could you?" "It's not what you think," he interrupted, his voice rising with urgency. "I'd never put you in harm's way intentionally. Rhea and I are trying to uncover a plot that's bigger than you could imagine. They'll come for you next if you stay." "You need to understand." Before he could finish, the clatter of metal against metal pierced the air. My heart dropped as a group of men swathed in darkness emerged from the alley, their faces obscured by the shadows. "Run!" Connor yelled, his protective instinct kicking in as he flung himself toward us, pushing Caleb and me behind him as if to shield us from an invisible blow. Despite the adrenaline thrumming through my veins, a baffling warmth stirred inside me at the sight of him standing fiercely at our side. The thud of footsteps reverberated, echoing through the retreating light as they closed in. Each step felt like a countdown to catastrophe. "They won't stop," Rhea shouted, propelling herself forward. Her voice crackled with ferocity, pushing through the chaos as she jammed herself against a wall to catch her breath. "Just keep moving." Without thinking, I grabbed Caleb's hand and pulled him along, but the space between us and safety was quickly dissipating. Connor stepped forward, fighting back a wave of attackers, blocking them with sheer determined strength, but I could see the exhaustion etched on his face, the way his shoulders began to sag as the weight of the world pressed against him. "Go." He barked again, but my feet felt anchored in place. The instinct to protect him surged violently against the instinct for self-preservation. "Jaina." Caleb's voice sliced through my indecision. "We can't leave him." My heart twisted in a cacophony of choices, torn between escaping the impending doom that loomed and the undeniable bond that tethered me to him. "Connor, please," I begged, desperation creeping into my voice. But as I locked eyes with him, I saw something tolling in the depths of his darkened gaze, an urgency mingled with acceptance, an understanding that our worlds might be irrevocably shattered. In that moment, the collective pulse of fear resonated like a steady drum, propelling me to action. I pulled Caleb closer and whispered fiercely, "We can't abandon him. We can't let them take him." Caleb hesitated, uncertainty swirling in his eyes. "But if we go back, we'll all be caught. We'll be trapped. Do you trust me?" I implored, searching his gaze for the flicker of conviction that had guided us thus far. "We have to try, for him." The fleeting moment passed like a breath of cool wind, and Caleb nodded, determination setting into his features. Together, we ducked and maneuvered through the fray, seeking the place where the light met the darkness, but just as we reached Connor, a blinding flash engulfed the Aliyah light, so unforgiving, it felt like the sun itself had erupted from the shadows. We shielded our eyes, and even as the chaos swirled around us, it felt almost surreal. When the radiance faded, I opened my eyes to a figure standing before us, illuminated in a distinctly different light. It was a man, tall and somewhat familiar, his eyes a chilling shade of gray that seemed to peer into the very essence of my soul. "Jaina," he spoke, his voice cutting through the tension like a knife. "You need to come with me. They're not just after any of us, they're after you." Caleb stiffened beside me, and I could feel his disbelief turning into something more visceral. "Who are you?" he demanded, his hand tightening around mine, but I was frozen, my heart racing as the weight of the man's proclamation settled like lead in my stomach. What did he know that we didn't? What were they after from me? As I stood at the precipice of choice, with shadows creeping closer and the promise of danger lurking just out of sight, a surge of raw energy pulsed through me. And yet, as we moved back into the shadows, engulfed by uncertainty, a whisper of hope flickered in my chest. Whatever obstacles lay ahead, we would face them together, even as the darkness closed in around us. The alley felt alive with a pulsating energy that was simultaneously terrifying and intoxicating. Everything swirled into chaos as the enigmatic man towered over us, the shadows stretching further at his presence. I glanced at Caleb, who mirrored my confusion, but there was an unbreakable edge to his resolve. Why are they after us? After her? Caleb's voice strained against the gravity of the situation, muscles taut as if ready to spring into action at any moment. The gray-eyed stranger was unfazed by the turmoil, his gaze unwavering. It's not just her, he finally replied, his words weighty and deliberate. They're after something she holds within her, something dangerous and powerful. You both need to understand that what's happening is much larger than you can comprehend right now. You're caught in the crossfire of something that has been brewing for years, like hell. I barked, my heart racing violently in my chest. Just take us away from here. You don't even know us, I know enough, he replied, intensity flashing in those gray depths. You are more than what you think. You all share a connection that's woven into this chaos, and there's a reason you've been pulled together at this moment. Stop it. I shouted, desperation punctuating my voice. What does that even mean? As I spoke, I felt all the tension of uncertainty and fear pooling like storm clouds ready to burst. I turned to Connor, whose face reflected an internal battle of his own. The fierceness had shown before was now laced with concern. What am I a part of? Before the stranger could answer, a solid thud echoed off the walls, reverberating through our bones, an ominous signal of the danger inching closer. The men I had sensed earlier, hidden in the alley's dark corners, were now emerging with a fury that knocked the breath out of me. Their eyes were wild, their intentions and allegiance clear in the violent looks they shot our way. We need to move. Connor shouted, taking a half-step forward, his body poised between us and the encroaching threat. Stay close, don't break apart. He lifted my chin, forcing me to lock my gaze onto his. Whatever happens, Jaina, you can do this. Trust yourself. My heart soared, buoyed by the flicker of tenderness in his voice, and before I could process my own feelings any longer, the stranger shot a sidelong glance at Connor. This is your last chance, all of you. If you want to escape the chaos, you need to do it now. This is insane. Caleb barked, shaking his head in disbelief as his eyes darted around for any possible exit. We can't just run with a complete stranger. What kind of choice is that? I could feel the fear momentarily paralyzing all of us, but somehow, even amidst the uncertainty, a small ember of courage ignited within me. Caleb, listen. I turned to him, feeling the words come alive on my lips. We can't keep waiting for the danger to find us. If we stay here, we're only making it easier for them. We have to take the risk. We have to move. Connor pressed his back against mine, grounding me as the shadows lengthened. The weight of his presence was a soothing balm against my escalating anxiety. Trust your instincts, he whispered, allowing a moment of vulnerability to shine through. Right now, it's all we have, and with those words anchored in my heart, I made my choice. We go. I cried out, grabbing Caleb and Connor's hands tightly in mine. Together we ran, weaving through the alleyways, the stranger leading us with an intensity that guided us past the encroaching chaos. As we dashed down a narrow corridor, I took a fleeting glance over my shoulder. The men still pursued us, their shadows elongating as they howled against the dimming light. I took a deep breath, combining fear and a wild burst of adrenaline, pushing us all to keep moving. Through twists and turns, we finally burst into the sparkling light of a side street, a stark contrast to the darkness we had just escaped. The world opened up before us, but even in that moment of potential safety, a nagging sense of foreboding tightened in my chest. That we need to find somewhere safe, the stranger urged. Urgency suffusing his tone. I wondered if, beneath the bravado, he too was wrestling with the unknown just like us. As we paused for only a moment to catch our breath, the stranger's gaze shifted over my shoulder past the street lamp's glow. I followed his line of sight and froze. A figure emerged from the distance, distinct against the fading twilight, a smile that felt too wide for comfort stretching across his face. Jackson? I whispered, disbelief rooting me to the ground. My younger brother had been missing for years, swallowed whole by a past I had tried to escape. But here he was, suddenly concrete amidst an ocean of uncertainty, his eyes glistening with knowing. The world around us faded as I took a hesitant step toward him, but before I could reach out, the glimmer of hope shattered. The approaching figures behind us had begun to close in, their intentions clear and dangerous. Jaina! Get back! Jackson shouted, his eyes wide with panic as I realized I was once again teetering on the brink of chaos. As the shadows surged forward, the street darkened around me, a chilling sense of doom eclipsing the flicker of hope that had ignited moments before. The moment froze in time, a mind-bending juxtaposition of joy and terror that left me reeling. Jackson's voice cut through the chaos around me like a blade, urging me back, but my feet felt heavy, confusion and longing shackling me to the ground. Memories flooded my mind, laughter shared in the sunlight, whispered secrets exchanged under the blanket fort in our living room, the shadows of worry that had loomed over us as we were tossed between homes. Seeing him now was a cruel twist of fate, a reminder of both the family I had lost and the danger that was bearing down like a storm. Jaina, please. Caleb's voice broke through my reverie, panic etched across his features. We can't stay here. We have to go. He started tugging at my arm, his urgency pulling me back from the precipice of the past. No. We can't leave him. I cried, my heart torn as I turned to see Jackson standing there, a beacon amidst the encroaching darkness. But as he took a step closer, the shadows behind me surged, and the air crackled with imminent dread. The man with the gray eyes moved swiftly, positioning himself between us and the dark figures creeping closer. You cannot let emotions cloud your judgment. He shouted, his voice layered with both authority and concern. You don't know if he's safe. What do you know about him? I spat, my voice a quiver of betrayal. He's my brother. He's all I've got. Not for long if you don't move. Jackson's eyes were wide, arrestingly alive with fear. He stepped toward me, sweat glistening on his brow. Jaina, I was trying to find you. You have to trust me, this isn't just about us. The desperation in his voice propelled forward like a tidal wave. He looked over his shoulder. They're coming. You need to go. A chill swept through me at his words, the implications wrapping around my heart like a vice. I felt the pull of loyalty, soul deep and raw, battling the incessant thrum of caution hammering in my temples. Jackson, I murmured, my voice trembling. I longed to throw my arms around him, to absorb all the years of separation into a single embrace, but it felt like a treacherous instinct. I was so close to him, could I truly let fear dictate my next move? Caleb, still clutching my arm, pulled me slightly to the side, urging me to face him. Jaina, think. We can't risk everything. What if he's a trap? Anxiety laced his words, but there was also an undercurrent of something deeper, a flickering hope that maybe, just maybe, Jackson was exactly who I needed. In that split second, Jackson's gaze flickered with desperation. Jaina, just listen to me. They want you. They want what's inside you, something I should have protected you from. Pain shot through my chest at his words. What do you mean? I could barely process as a sharp shout echoed behind me, a reminder that the shadows were gathering, their relentless pursuit neared crescendo. The gray-eyed stranger's jaw tightened. Trust your brother, but also trust yourself. If we don't move now, we'll be surrounded. In an instant, a flicker of something deep within me ignited, a boiling determination that would not be stifled. The weight of responsibility bore down on me. It was my past, my brother, and the oppressive shadows pressing in from every side. I felt the delicate strands of loyalty stretch taut, and I made a choice. Together, I breathed, reaching for Jackson as I pulled away from Caleb's grasp, the warmth from my brother's hand sending a shock through my spine. I felt alive, connected to my past in a way I hadn't imagined possible, but as I inched closer, the space between us began to dissolve. "We need to go. All of us!" Caleb shouted, encroaching panic tightening his voice as the dark figures closed in. The glow of the streetlights flickered ominously, casting strange shadows as they merged with the chaos surrounding us. My fear boiled over, spilling into desperation as I turned to Connor and the stranger. "You can help us escape, can't you?" Just then, a loud crash echoed against the alley walls, and my chest tightened with an impending sense of doom. In that moment of terror, my vision blurred as overwhelming dread clawed at my throat. I was about to lose everything again. "I'll never leave you again," Jackson cried, his face etched with panic. "You need to believe," and then, in a heartbeat, everything went dark. The shadows swallowed us whole, a cacophony of screams and chaos erupting as I felt a powerful shove. My body propelled sideways, the feeling akin to plunging into icy water. When the world snapped back into focus, I found myself alone at the edge of the alley, my breath frosty and jagged in my chest. The small glimmer of hope had flickered out, leaving behind a heart-wrenching void. Caleb and Connor were gone, swallowed by the night, and Jackson was nowhere in sight. A chill seeped deep into my bones. All I had was the echo of his last words and the overwhelming terror gripping my heart. Something far more precious than I had been prepared to lose had just slipped through my fingers, and the shadows were only just beginning to close in. I staggered back, the alley's confinement pressing on all sides, my heart a wild torrent of despair. The shadows danced, twisted, as panic clawed at my throat. Jackson, Caleb, Connor, each name felt like a chain dragging me down. I gasped for breath, the remnants of hope lingering just beyond reach. I was alone. The whisper of the night surrounded me like a shroud, muffling the chaos I could hardly comprehend. My world had splintered into chaos, each fragment a reminder of the family I had fought forlornly to have them ripped away once more. My mind raced. Why had I instinctively reached for Jackson? And where were they now? "Stop!" The voice from the shadows snared my attention. Rhea emerged like a specter, her face pale, eyes wide with urgency. "We have to move, Jaina." I barely registered her presence, shock numbing my senses. "There they took them, they took all of us." My words choked out, a reflection of my internal turmoil. I had failed to protect them. I felt like a fractured doll, pieced together yet utterly hollow. "No," she said, forcing me to look at her, urgency igniting her gaze. "You haven't lost them yet. There's still time." "Time?" I echoed, incredulity mixing with heartbreak. "How can there be time? I was so close, and now there I slumped against the wall, the weight of despair spiraling into a sense of worthless grief." Rhea stepped closer, eyes searching mine. "Listen to me, Jaina. I know you feel this loss, but you can't let it consume you. We can still find them, but you have to trust me." Rhea's determination, despite the chaos swirling around us, slowly began to stitch the frayed edges of my resolve. I remembered Connor's words about trust, about love, about hope. "How?" "Connor could lead you to them," Rhea insisted, extending her hand out to me. "We need to get to the old warehouse on the edge of town before they move him again." "There's no way, they are too far." They were taken. I trailed off, despair robbing me of my will, but there, flickering amidst the shadows, was a sliver of hope that had once resided in my heart, the bond formed through love stronger than any fear they wielded against us. "Together," I finally whispered, determination flaring like tiny flames flickering in the dark. Rhea nodded, and in that moment, a kinship flew between us, uniting our broken pieces as we rushed aimlessly through the winding alleys. It felt like racing against the night, every shadow that flashed past threatened to swallow us whole. The warehouse loomed ahead, an enormous structure marked by years of abandonment, the very essence of fear festering within its walls. Laughter echoed in the distance, ringing hollow, and the ghosts of my past pierced through the anxious calm. "This is it," Rhea murmured, her voice steel-wrapped in determination. The air turned electric as we maneuvered through the debris. "Stay close," I instructed her, feeling the rhythm of the night echoing through my veins. We pushed forward, quietly inching along the walls of the warehouse, a place that now seemed to pulsate with tension. The warehouse door was ajar, a portal to the chaos beyond. My fingers shook as I took a breath, but before I could process what lay ahead, an overwhelming roar thundered from within. A voice I once knew, a call I had searched for, invaded my very soul. "Jaina." The sound, desperate yet filled with raw emotion, sliced through me, intertwined my very existence with it. "Connor." I gasped, bolting forward, not daring to halt for air or fear. Inside, the dim light flickered, revealing Connor's silhouette grappling against a figure shrouded in darkness. "No. Let him go." My voice erupted, raw and determined. The figure shoved Connor into the wall, the sound echoing like a death knell against my heart. I surged forward, adrenaline propelling me to him, and just as I reached out, the figure turned. A face emerged from the shadows, one that sent icy tendrils of recognition racing through my veins. "Ah, the little sister finally arrives." Caleb's voice oozed with a disconcerting mix of mockery and menace. "No!" I cried out, an overwhelming wave of grief crashing over me. "Caleb, please." I turned to Connor, who stared back at me, fear flickering in his eyes. "Jaina, it's a trick, find your strength." Connor's voice broke through the chaos, each word a lifeline tugging me back from the edge of despair. "Trust yourself, Jaina." Rhea echoed behind me, her words grounding as I wrestled with the truth flooding my mind. It was a moment where history curled into possibility, a head-on collision between the fractures of my past and the promise of the future. In an agonizing moment of clarity, I reached deep within a place I had almost forgotten. I steadied my breath, pulling together pieces of strength I had forgotten flowed through me. I stepped closer, confronting the remnants of my fears. "You're not him," I declared, my voice gaining confidence with cada syllable. Caleb turned toward me, disbelief dancing in the angles of his face. "You think you can stop me? I know who you are." I stepped forward, eyes locked on him. "You're a shadow of what once was. You're still lost." The hesitation flickered in his eyes, the chaos pausing for the briefest heartbeat before everything erupted anew. Rhea surged forward, interjecting herself between Caleb and Connor. A chaotic surge of power crackled through the air as the shadows shifted, the tension taut around us. Sweat dripped down my brow, the weight of the moment capturing every emotion I had carried for years. "You may think you can control this chaos," I said, voice trembling but fierce, "but I refuse to be a pawn in your game." "What nonsense is this?" Caleb scoffed, stepping forward again. But I could see the pulse of connection flicker between us, a bond forged from blood reaching for the light. Then, in that moment of defiance, I felt the surge of something power, love, acceptance, and it coursed through us all. The shadows shuddered with an awakening I could not yet explain, the air filled with possibility, shimmering with a fragile truth, the power of family, the force behind every bond forged amidst chaos. "Let him go," I shouted, every word emerging with an unwavering strength. Caleb hesitated, the anger twisting into something softer, almost tender. "You don't know what you're doing." As the shadows encircled us, engulfing us in chaos again, I felt my heart in sync with Rhea, with Connor, and who Jackson would become. "I know I'm choosing to fight," I quickly declared, summoning everything within. In that single incandescent moment, the energy surged as Caleb stepped back, releasing Connor, the light illuminating the warehouse pulsing with unity. We stood together, my new family beside me, intertwined through a force bridging the gap between fear and acceptance. "Now, Jaina. Push through," Rhea urged, and I rushed forward, taking a step into the unknown while inevitably trusting the path ahead. Caleb gasped, the shadows pulling back, and as they shifted, I felt warmth radiate through the space, a protective blanket built from every hurt and challenge faced, stitched together with the essence of our love and connection. Let's go, Connor urged, extending his hand, eyes wide with life. Together, we moved forward, entwined in that newfound energia, family forged from chaos, emerging into the light. And just like that, I found my way back to them, the shadows fading like the echoes of the past drifting into the twilight. As we stepped into freedom together, I breathed in the night air, a promise laced with hope, love, and the unbreakable ties we shared. I turned to face the horizon, the weight of the past lifting as I breathed life into the dawning future. Hand in hand, as a family reborn, we moved toward whatever lay ahead. There was no turning back, only the path forward, and as I took that first step into the unknown, I knew I would never be alone again. In that moment, time stopped, we were woven together in the pulsating bond of everything we had been. I lifted my chin, facing the horizon with renewed strength and clarity. Together, I whispered, each breath carrying my vow into the night, filling the void that had once threatened to fracture us once more. This was our story, a tapestry, yet to be fully woven. And as we moved forward, inhaling the promise of tomorrow, a flutter of hope ignited, lighting the way one heartbeat at a time. We were alive. Together we would rise, shadows no longer able to hold us back.